Welcome to Monk's Temple. Tonight, we won't be traveling to ancient monasteries or studying profound texts. Instead, we'll be doing something much simpler and much more revolutionary. We'll be practicing the art of noticing what has always been here. The practice of meeting this moment, this breath, this sound, this feeling, as if we've never encountered anything like it before. This is what Zen teachers call beginner's mind, but you might simply call it coming home to your senses. Before we begin, find a comfortable position. Notice the support beneath you. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breath moving in and out, without any effort on your part. Let your eyes soften, or close them if that feels right. There's nothing to achieve here, nowhere to go. Just this moment, just this presence. We live under a powerful illusion, the illusion that life repeats itself. We speak of another Monday, the same old routine, here we go again. This perception creates a psychological weight, a sense of weariness with our own existence. But what if this repetition is merely a story our efficient minds tell us? What if, in actual reality, nothing has ever repeated itself? Not once. Consider the scientific perspective. At the quantum level, the universe operates in probabilities and possibilities, with each moment representing a unique collapse of potential into actuality. The atoms that make up your body are in constant flux. You literally are not the same physical being you were when you began reading this sentence. The air in your lungs has never been arranged in this exact molecular configuration before. The neural pathways firing in your brain create a pattern that has never existed in the history of the cosmos. From this viewpoint, repetition is impossible. What we experience as repetition is actually our mind's brilliant but limiting efficiency. To conserve energy, our brain creates categories and patterns. Once something is categorized as familiar, it stops processing it in detail and instead supplies a memory. You're not seeing your living room, you're seeing your brain's projection of living room based on yesterday's data. This is why you can walk through your home and not notice that a picture frame has been moved slightly, or that a plant has a new bloom. Your brain has stopped looking, it's just replaying. Let me tell you a story from the far north. From the Sami people of Scandinavia, who have followed the reindeer migrations for millennia. There was a herder named Mikkel who knew his land with an intimacy most of us can scarcely imagine. He could navigate by the taste of the wind, by the particular way snow gathered on the north side of a birch tree, by the subtle patterns in the lichen. His knowledge wasn't academic, it was embodied, earned through decades of walking the same ancestral routes with his herd. His mind was a perfect, living map of the territory. Then came the winter of the Great Shift. The patterns that had held for generations broke. The winds came from directions that made no sense according to Mikkel's internal map. The ice formed in strange, glassy sheets where it should have been granular and thick. The lichen his reindeer depended on was buried under snow of a different consistency. Panic, cold and sharp, rose in Mikkel's chest. This wasn't just a problem for his herd. It was an assault on his identity. He was a man who knew. And now, he did not know. In that moment of terrifying disorientation, something in Mikkel broke open. Instead of frantically trying to force the new reality to match his old map, he did the unthinkable, he surrendered. He sat on a snow-covered log, closed his eyes, and deliberately let go of everything he thought he knew about this land, this weather, this season. He emptied his cup. Then, he began to listen. Not with his thinking mind, but with his whole being. He felt the new quality of the cold on his cheeks. It was drier, carried a different scent. He listened to the silence, which wasn't truly silent but filled with a high-pitched ringing from the strange ice. He opened his eyes and looked, really looked, at the shadows the low sun cast across the snow. They fell in angles he'd never seen, revealing contours of the land his memory had smoothed over. He noticed a flock of snow buntings flying in a tight, urgent pattern toward the east, not their usual winter route. Mikkel wasn't applying knowledge. He was receiving information directly, without the filter of how things should be. His mind, emptied of its certainties, became a pristine sensor. He followed the birds, trusting the raw data of his senses over the library of his memory. They led him to a wind-scoured ridge where edible moss was exposed. It wasn't the usual grazing ground, but it would sustain the herd. He had found a new path by becoming a beginner in his own homeland. The elders would later say Mikkel had learned to see with first eyes, the eyes of the very first human to ever walk this earth, for whom everything was astonishing, immediate, and new. Mikkel's story isn't about abandoning hard-won wisdom. It's about the relationship we have to that wisdom. His knowledge became a barrier when he clung to it as absolute truth in the face of changing conditions. It became a bridge when he could set it aside temporarily to perceive what was actually present. We can cultivate these first eyes right now, in the most ordinary circumstances. It begins with a simple, subversive question: what if I don't already know what this is? Try it with something utterly familiar. Your own right hand. Look at it. Don't see hand. See shapes, colors, textures. See the landscape of lines, each one telling a story of a grip, a gesture, a moment of pressure. See the subtle variations in skin tone. Feel the weight of it in your lap. Feel the aliveness humming within it. Meet your hand as if you are a curious visitor from another galaxy, encountering this miraculous appendage for the very first time. This is beginner's mind in its most essential form. Modern brain science offers a fascinating window into this practice. Our brains operate on what's called predictive processing. To save energy, the brain is constantly making predictions about what will happen next based on past experience. It creates a model of reality and then spends most of its time just checking for errors against that model. When you walk into your kitchen, you don't see the kitchen. You see your brain's prediction of the kitchen, which it updates only if something significant violates the prediction: a broken plate on the floor, a new appliance. This system is incredibly efficient, but it has a cost. It makes the world seem stale, known, and unsurprising. We live in a simulated reality of our own expectations. Beginner's mind is the conscious choice to interrupt this prediction loop. It's the decision to temporarily suspend the model and drink in the raw sensory data. When you do this, you're not just being poetic, you're giving your brain a workout in neuroplasticity. You're forcing it to form new neural connections based on present moment input, rather than simply reinforcing old pathways of assumption. Studies on mindfulness, a close cousin of beginner's mind, show that it thickens the prefrontal cortex, associated with present moment awareness, and shrinks the amygdala, the fear and reaction center. In a very real way, practicing seeing things as new rewires your brain from being a reactive prediction machine to being a receptive presence machine. Let me share a personal story of how this shift in perception transformed something mundane. For years, I had a daily ritual of morning coffee. It was purely functional: grind, brew, pour, drink while checking news. It was a fuel-up procedure, devoid of sensation. One morning, my grinder broke. Annoyed, I had to use pre-ground coffee from the back of the cupboard. As I waited for the kettle, my frustration buzzing, I happened to look at the coffee tin. And for the first time in years, I actually smelled it. Not just coffee smell, but a rich, complex aroma with notes of dark chocolate and cedar. It startled me. Intrigued, I watched the hot water hit the grounds in the French press. I observed the crust that formed, the slow, languid bubbles escaping. I listened to the faint hiss. When I pressed the plunger, I felt the smooth, hydraulic resistance. I poured the coffee and, instead of reaching for my phone, I simply held the warm mug in both hands, feeling the heat seep into my palms and fingers. I took the first sip, and actually tasted it. The bright acidity, the deep roasted bitterness, the slight thickness on my tongue, the lingering aftertaste. For about 90 seconds, there was no me with a to-do list. There was just taste, warmth, scent, and sound. The world had not changed. My coffee was arguably inferior with pre-ground beans. But my experience of it was completely new, vivid, and rich, because for a moment, I had met it before my mind could label it, coffee, again. This is the alchemy of beginner's mind. It doesn't change the object, it changes the relationship. It turns routine into ritual, the mundane into the miraculous. It reveals that wonder isn't hidden in exotic locations. It's buried beneath the heavy blanket of our own familiarity, waiting for us to lift the corner and peek beneath. When you begin to practice this, the implications ripple out into every corner of your life. Forgiveness becomes easier. You're no longer relating to a person who wronged you yesterday as a fixed entity. You're meeting the person who is here today, who has also been changed by the flow of time. Regret and anxiety loosen their grip. They are ghosts haunting a country, the past or future, that does not exist. The only real territory is this fresh, unexplored now. Creativity flourishes. When you don't already know what something is, you open to new combinations, new possibilities. The blank page isn't intimidating, it's a field of pure potential. Compassion deepens. You begin to see others not as static characters in your story, but as living, changing beings, each with their own fresh moment of experience that you can never fully know. The poet Rilke advised, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves." Beginner's mind is the ultimate love affair with the question. It is the willingness to dwell in the mysterious, unanswered quality of life, rather than rushing to the comfort of an answer that might be too small, too old, too rigid for the living truth of this moment. So as we start this journey together, I invite you to simply experiment. Tomorrow, choose one ordinary act, making your bed, brushing your teeth, greeting a coworker, and perform it with first eyes. Ask the question, what if I don't already know what this is? Meet the texture of the toothpaste, the pattern of the bristles, the sensation in your gums as if it were a fascinating archaeological discovery. Hear your coworker's voice not as a familiar signal, but as a unique vibration in the air, carrying a universe of unspoken feelings. You are not trying to become someone new. You are remembering how to be where you have always been, at the beginning of a world that is being born anew in every instant. The cup is already empty, because this moment has never been filled. Your eyes are already fresh, because this scene has never been viewed. Rest in that knowing for now. Let it be a soft background to your awareness as we continue to explore the landscape of beginner's mind together. If beginner's mind is the open, receptive state of first eyes, then its greatest adversary is not ignorance, but its opposite, the condition of being too full to receive. We might call this the full cup problem. It's the state where our minds, brimming with conclusions, opinions, and past knowledge, have no space left for the new, the nuanced, or the now. This fullness doesn't just add to our understanding, it often prevents it. To understand this, we must appreciate the mind not as a limitless void, but as a vessel. Every experience, every learned fact, every solidified opinion is a liquid poured into this vessel. When the vessel is full, anything new that tries to enter simply overflows and is lost. The problem isn't the quality of the new insight, it's the lack of space to contain it. Let's travel to the sun-drenched hills of Tuscany in the late Renaissance. There lived a vintner, Signore Colombo, whose Chianti was sought by princes and popes. His cellars held barrels from legendary vintages, and his knowledge of soil, sun, and vine was unsurpassed. He could predict a harvest's character by the bloom of a single flower in spring. His cup was full of the sacred knowledge of wine. One year, an unusual blight touched the region. It didn't kill the vines, but it altered the grapes in a way no one had seen. The harvest produced a juice that was startlingly tart, with a strange, peppery note. The other vintners panicked, trying to force the juice through their normal processes, producing thin, bitter wine. Colombo tasted the new must and his expert palate recoiled. It was wrong. It violated every principle he held. His first instinct was to blend it away with older reserves, to correct it. But something made him pause. He had a small, unused ceramic vessel in the corner of his cellar. On a whim, he filled it with this flawed juice, sealed it, and set it aside, almost in disgust, deciding to deal with it later. For 2 years, he ignored it. When he finally uncorked it, expecting vinegar, he was met with an aroma that stopped him cold. It was complex, vibrant, utterly unique, a scent of dark cherry, leather, and that distinctive pepper, now transformed into a sophisticated spice. He tasted it. The shocking tartness had mellowed into a breathtaking structure. The wine was alive, powerful, and unlike anything in his cellars. It became his most celebrated creation, the legendary pepper ghost, Chianti. Later, he would say, "I knew too much to make that wine. My knowledge was a wall. I had to become ignorant again, to put the problem in a forgotten corner where my expertise couldn't meddle, and let the mystery solve itself." Colombo's full cup of wine knowledge nearly made him destroy his greatest discovery. His moment of wisdom was creating an empty vessel, the small ceramic jar, and allowing the unknown process to unfold without the interference of his certainties. Modern cognitive science explains this phenomenon through concepts like cognitive entrenchment and the Einstein effect. Cognitive entrenchment occurs when extensive expertise in a field leads to fixed ways of thinking, making it harder to solve novel problems or adopt new perspectives. The Einstein effect is the blindness to better or simpler solutions because your mind is fixated on a familiar, known method. In a classic experiment, chess masters and novices were shown board configurations. The masters were faster at recognizing standard patterns, but when presented with an irregular, non-standard configuration, the novices sometimes found creative solutions faster. The masters' minds, full of established patterns, the full cup, were momentarily blinded to possibilities outside those patterns. Our brains are pattern-making machines. Efficiency demands that we automate repeated processes. This is how we learn to drive, speak a language, or perform our jobs. But this automation comes with a shadow. We stop seeing the individual components. We see, driving to work, instead of the specific play of light on wet asphalt, the particular sway of a certain tree, the changing faces at the crosswalk. Our cup is full of the concept of the journey, leaving no room for the actual, sensory journey. Here is the voiceover script, written for smooth text-to-speech delivery without pauses or sound effect cues. The full cup problem manifests in many subtle ways in our lives. First, the cup of identity. Thoughts like, I am a serious person, or I'm not creative, or I'm always late, these are not just observations. They are conclusions that fill our cup. They dictate what we allow ourselves to experience and become. If your cup is full of, I am not creative, you will dismiss the playful doodle your hand makes on a notepad as irrelevant, never allowing it to be the seed of something new. Second, the cup of relationship. This is when we think, my partner always. Or, my mother never. These are stories that fill the cup. They prevent us from seeing the person in front of us in this moment, who may be acting or feeling differently. We end up relating to our story about them, not to the actual living person before us. Third, the cup of problem solving. This is the thought that says, this is how we've always done it. This cup is full of precedent. It prevents innovative solutions because the mental space for the question, what if we tried something completely different, is already occupied by the certainty of what we know works. And fourth, the cup of spiritual or philosophical belief. Even our most cherished beliefs can become a full cup. If we are absolutely certain we understand the nature of reality, God, or the universe, we close ourselves off to moments of awe or insight that might contradict or deepen that understanding. The true mystic, in contrast, always leaves room for more mystery. The practice of diagnosing fullness. How do we know when our cup is too full? The symptoms are often emotional and physical. Irritability with new ideas. A feeling of, that's not right, or, that's naive, that arises too quickly. Boredom, the sense that everything is predictable, stale, been there, done that. Defensiveness, a need to defend your position, even in a casual conversation. Physical constriction, a tightness in the chest or jaw when confronted with change or challenge. Mental fatigue, the feeling that thinking is heavy, like wading through mud, because you're carrying so much accumulated stuff. Emptying the cup isn't about forgetting what we know. It's about changing our relationship to that knowledge, from being owned by it to holding it lightly. Here are 3 practical methods to create space in your mind. First, the for 1 week experiment. Choose one area where you feel absolute certainty. Perhaps it's, I know what kind of music I like. For 1 week, forbid yourself from listening to that familiar genre. Instead, explore music you've previously dismissed or ignored. Don't try to like it. Just listen as a curious scientist, collecting data on the sounds, the rhythms, and the emotions it evokes. You are not trying to change your taste, you are simply creating empty space around your existing preference. Second, try keeping a beginner's log. Keep a small notebook. Each day, write down one thing you know to be absolutely true about your work, your relationship, or yourself. Then, right beside it, write a counter-question. For example, you might write, "I know my colleague is difficult to work with." Then, your counter-question could be, "What is one thing my colleague did today that was effective or understandable?" This practice does not erase your knowledge or your experience, but it creates a vital crack of space right beside your certainty. Third, use a sensory reset. When you feel mentally full, overwhelmed, or rigid in your thinking, engage in a purely sensory activity with your total focus. Wash your hands in cold water and feel every single sensation, the temperature, the movement, the texture of the soap. Or, eat a single raisin, exploring its texture in your mouth for a full minute. Alternatively, look closely at a leaf, slowly tracing the patterns of its veins with your eyes. This simple act forces your brain out of its conceptual, full cup mode and drops it directly into the empty cup experience of raw, immediate sensation. Early in my career, I was asked to mentor a new employee. I was proud of my systems, my shortcuts, my right way of doing things. My cup was full of my own efficiency. In our first meeting, I began pouring my knowledge into her. I talked for 45 minutes straight, a torrent of procedures and tips. She sat quietly, taking notes, but her eyes glazed over. At the end, she asked one hesitant question, "I see how that works. But what if a client asks about this other, older service we still list? The procedure document doesn't mention it." I was stumped. I had forgotten about that legacy service because it didn't fit my efficient system. My cup was so full of my way that I had let a piece of practical reality overflow and be lost. Her beginner's question, coming from an empty cup, exposed a gap in my full expertise. It was a humbling lesson. True teaching isn't pouring from a full cup into an empty one. It's two people sitting together with enough space in their vessels for a new understanding to arise between them. The full cup problem teaches us a liberating truth: our expertise is most valuable when we are not identified with it. Signore Colombo's wine wisdom didn't vanish, it became the background that allowed him to appreciate the miracle in the ceramic jar. My professional knowledge wasn't worthless. It needed the empty space of my mentee's question to reveal its blind spot. The goal is to become like a skilled dancer who knows all the steps but can still improvise to a new rhythm. The steps are in the cup, but the dancing happens in the empty space of the present moment. As you move through your day, notice the weight of your knowing. Feel the difference between the mind that is full and heavy, and the mind that has space and is light. The practice of beginner's mind often starts not with adding something, but with the gentle, courageous act of pouring out just a little, to make room for the unexpected vintage of now. If the full cup problem shows us the consequence of mental congestion, the empty vessel practice offers us the method of liberation. This is not about becoming blank or ignorant, but about cultivating intentional spaciousness. The conscious creation of room in our minds and hearts for what wants to emerge, rather than what we insist should be there. It is the active art of hospitality toward the unknown. The metaphor of the vessel is ancient and cross-cultural. In Japanese tea ceremony, the chosen vessel, the chawan or tea bowl, is never completely full. Space is left, not as lack, but as reverence. That emptiness is where the steam can gather, where the aroma can collect, where the drinker's attention can rest before tasting. The bowl's function depends on its hollow center. Our minds are no different. In medieval Germany, a master bell founder named Klaus was commissioned to cast the great bell for a cathedral. The process was sacred and precise, melting bronze and tin, pouring the molten metal into a clay mold buried in a casting pit. Klaus had done this dozens of times. His cup was full of ritual and technique. During this pivotal pour, a young, anxious apprentice, stumbling in the smoky dark, bumped against the channel guiding the metal. A small but critical amount of the alloy spilled onto the earth, lost. The mold was not completely filled. When the cooled bell was unearthed, a flaw was revealed, a thumb-sized hollow in the thick shoulder of the bell, a void where solid metal should have been. The bishop was furious. The bell was ruined. A lifetime of reputation, lost. Klaus, in despair, ordered the flawed bell hung in the yard anyway, a monument to his failure. The first time the clapper struck it, everyone braced for a dull, broken sound. Instead, a note of such profound, melancholy beauty rang out that people stopped in the streets. It was deeper and more complex than any perfect bell Klaus had ever made. The hollow flaw created an additional resonance chamber. The bell didn't just ring, it sighed. It remembered. It became known as the weeping bell, and pilgrims traveled to hear its unique, soulful voice. Klaus initially saw only a flaw, an emptiness that represented failure. But that enforced emptiness, that unintended hollow, became the source of the bell's unique voice. His perfect, full knowledge of bell-making could never have designed it. It was the empty space that sang. Modern psychology recognizes the necessity of this emptiness through related concepts. Cognitive load theory suggests our working memory has limited capacity. When it's overloaded with thoughts, worries, and stimuli, a full cup, our ability to think clearly, make decisions, and be present plummets. The practice of emptying the vessel is literally a cognitive hygiene practice, clearing the working memory's cache. Similarly, the default mode network, the brain network active when we're not focused on the outside world, is often associated with self-referential thinking, worrying, and rumination, the mental, full cup of past and future. Mindfulness and beginner's mind practices deactivate this network, creating the empty vessel of present-centered awareness. This isn't a blank state, it's a receptive, quiet state where new connections can form. The empty vessel practice can be approached at three distinct levels: the momentary, the daily, and the life seasonal. The first level is the momentary emptying, or the sacred pause. This is the micro-practice of creating a deliberate space between a stimulus and your response. Before you answer a question, simply take one conscious breath. Before reacting to a provocation, pause to feel your feet firmly on the ground. In that tiny, created emptiness, you are no longer a puppet of habit. You become a conscious chooser. The Zen saying, "Sit, don't react," perfectly encapsulates this. You are not doing nothing. You are making space for a wiser intelligence to arise from a deeper place than mere reaction. As an exercise, try setting a random alarm on your phone 3 times today. When it goes off, wherever you are, just stop. For 15 seconds, drop every thought about what you are doing. Just feel your body in space. See the colors around you. Hear the sounds. Be an empty vessel, simply receiving the moment, free of any agenda. Then, continue. The second level is the daily emptying, or the ritual of release. This is a dedicated time to pour out the accumulated mental contents of your day. Journaling is a classic form, but with a beginner's mind twist. Don't write a narrative. Simply perform a brain dump. Write down every thought, worry, to-do item, fragment of a song lyric, memory, everything in your cup, onto paper, without any order or editing. You are not analyzing, you are emptying. The physical act of transferring it to paper signals to your brain that it can finally let go. The page holds it now. Your mind is cleared. Another beautiful form is the evening walk with no purpose. Walk not for exercise, not to get somewhere, but purely to let the sights and sounds of your neighborhood pour through you, washing out the dust of the day's thinking. The third and deepest level is the life seasonal emptying, or the voluntary wilderness. This is the profound practice of periodically creating a major empty space in your life. It could be a digital Sabbath, a solo retreat, a thinking week away from routine, or even just committing to a new hobby with the explicit rule, I will be a complete beginner. I will have no goal of mastery. You are creating a dedicated hollow, like the one in the Weeping Bell, where a new resonance can develop, completely free from the pressure of your existing identity and expertise. Why is this practice so difficult? Because we confuse emptiness with worthlessness. We are culturally conditioned to believe that a full schedule, a full mind, a full life is a successful life. Emptiness feels like vulnerability, like idleness, like failure. We fear that if we empty our cup, we will be nothing. The wisdom traditions say the opposite. In emptiness, we find our true nature. A bowl is most useful when empty. A room is most livable when not crammed. The mind is most clear when still. The fear is that of the ego, which defines itself by its contents. I am my opinions, my achievements, my knowledge. To empty the cup feels like ego death. But what remains when the contents are gently set aside is not nothing. It is awareness itself, the silent, spacious witness that was always there, beneath the clutter. Years ago, going through a period of intense grief, my mind was a roaring, overflowing cup of pain, memories, and whys. I couldn't meditate. I couldn't write. One day, in desperation, I did something simple. I moved a comfortable chair to a quiet corner of a room. I placed a small, empty bowl on the table beside it. I made a rule: for 1 hour each day, I would sit in that chair. I was not allowed to do grief. I was not allowed to analyze or remember. I was only allowed to sit and breathe. If a thought or memory arose, I would imagine placing it in the empty bowl. The bowl was my vessel. My mind was to be the empty chair. The first days were agony. The cup overflowed constantly. But slowly, the ritual itself created a container. The grief didn't disappear, but it stopped being a flood that drowned me. It became something I could, for moments, set aside. In the empty space that began to open up around the edges of the hour, I didn't find solutions. I found a quiet resilience I didn't know I had. I found that I was larger than my pain. The empty chair and bowl didn't solve my grief, but they created the space in which I could eventually hold it without breaking. The empty vessel practice is not an end in itself. We empty not to remain empty, but to be capable of receiving the fresh, the true, the necessary. We are like the Bell founder's flawed masterpiece. Our perfect, polished expertise has its place. But it is often the hollows carved by loss, by failure, by deliberate release, the empty spaces we did not choose, that give our life its unique timbre, its depth of resonance. The practice is a return to trust. Trust that you do not need to hold everything at once. Trust that intelligence is not just what you know, but your capacity to know. Trust that in the clear space of the empty vessel, the next right note will find a way to sound. As you go forward, consider, where is your cup most painfully full? What one belief, worry, or routine could you gently pour out, just a little, to make space for a new resonance? You are both the craftsman and the vessel. Sometimes, the most beautiful work is done not by adding more metal, but by having the courage to leave a sacred, singing hollow. If the empty vessel practice creates the space, then fresh eyes meditation is the art of filling that space with pure, unedited perception. This is the heart of beginner's mind. The direct, sensory encounter with reality before our thoughts, labels, and stories rush in to interpret it. It's the practice of seeing the world not as a collection of known objects, but as a continuous, shimmering event of form, color, sound, and sensation. We are born with this capacity. A newborn's gaze is one of pure wonder, not because everything is new, but because it hasn't yet learned to categorize. The light dancing on the wall is not light, it is a mesmerizing dance. The sound of a voice is not mom, it is a complex, comforting vibration. We don't lose this capacity as we grow, we simply bury it beneath layers of useful but blinding categorization. Fresh eyes meditation is the archaeological dig back to that original way of perceiving. In 18th century Venice, there lived a mapmaker named Lorenzo who was born with a rare form of color blindness. He saw the world in shades of sepia, ochre, and slate. While other cartographers filled their maps with lush greens for forests, blues for water, and pinks for cities, Lorenzo's maps were masterpieces of texture and line. He couldn't rely on the easy shorthand of color, so he developed an extraordinary sensitivity to other qualities. He would spend days observing a single coastline, noting not just its shape, but the precise pattern where waves of different sizes broke, indicating underwater topography. He mapped forests not by coloring them green, but by meticulously drawing the different canopy structures of oak versus pine, the density of undergrowth suggesting soil quality. His maps were initially dismissed as drab and impractical. But sailors who used them discovered they contained vital information others missed, the subtle inlet where a current turned, the specific tree line that marked a safe anchorage, the shading that indicated a marsh too soft for landing. Lorenzo, denied the conventional way of seeing color, was forced to see everything else with profound freshness. His disability became his beginner's mind superpower. While others saw a generic, green forest, he saw a detailed story of ecology and terrain. His maps didn't represent the idea of a place, they conveyed its actual, tactile reality. One day, a famous naturalist visited him, puzzled by the map's accuracy. "How do you see so much?" he asked. Lorenzo pointed to his own eyes. "I see very little color. So I must see everything else. You see a tree. I see the way the wind has permanently bent these branches to the east. You see water. I see 4 distinct patterns of ripple telling me depth and current. You have the luxury of labels. I have the necessity of looking. Our brains employ a process called sensory gating or habituation. Once a stimulus is deemed non-threatening and familiar, the brain reduces the neural response to it. This is why you stop noticing the hum of your refrigerator or the feel of your clothes. It's an energy-saving feature. The smell of your own home becomes invisible to you, though a visitor notices it immediately. This gating is what makes the world seem stale. Fresh eyes meditation is the conscious override of this system. It's saying to the brain, treat this familiar thing as if it's new and important. When you do this, you're not just being poetic. You're causing a literal increase in neural activation in your sensory cortices. You're waking up your own brain. Furthermore, the practice directly counteracts inattentional blindness, the phenomenon where we fail to see something fully visible because our attention is elsewhere. In the famous, invisible gorilla experiment, viewers counting basketball passes missed a person in a gorilla suit walking through the scene. Their attention was on the task, counting, not on the fresh perception of the whole field. Fresh eyes meditation is the practice of dropping the task of labeling the world so you can actually see it. You can practice cultivating fresh eyes anywhere, at any time. Here is a structured, step-by-step meditation to guide you. First, find your posture of reception. Sit or stand comfortably. Take 3 deep breaths to settle your body and mind. Let your gaze become soft, not focusing on anything in particular, but gently taking in your whole field of vision. This is often called open awareness or a spacious gaze. Now, we move to the first layer, deconstructing sight. We will spend about 3 minutes here. Choose an ordinary object in front of you, a cup, a plant, a book. Begin with step 1, suspend the label. Mentally whisper to yourself, this is not a cup. Let the familiar word and its meaning dissolve. Step 2. See only shapes and lines. Observe just the geometric forms. See that the curve of the handle is not a handle, it is simply a parabolic line connecting 2 points. See that the body is not a cup, it is a cylinder with a slight taper. Step 3. See light and shadow. Notice where the light falls upon it. Observe what shapes the shadows make. See the object purely as a play of luminosity and darkness, not as a solid thing. Step 4. See color without name. Perceive the hues as pure visual phenomena. Not as white, but as a brightness with hints of blue from the window. Not as brown, but as a deep, reddish darkness where the glaze gathers. Now, for the second layer, deconstructing sound. Close your eyes. We will spend about 2 minutes here. Do not listen for anything. Just let sounds arrive at your awareness. Do not label them, not car, not fridge, not voice. Instead, hear them as raw auditory textures. A low rumble, a steady whir, a melodic fluctuation. Gently notice the silence that exists between the sounds. Observe how each sound arises from that silence and eventually fades back into it. Next is the third layer, deconstructing touch. Bring your attention to your hands resting in your lap. Spend about 2 minutes here. Feel the bare sensation of contact. Not the idea of hand on leg, but the actual field of pressure, temperature, and subtle vibration. Feel the air touching your skin. Is it moving? Is it cool or warm on this specific spot on your cheek? Feel the weight of your body being gently pulled toward the earth, and feel the supportive, answering push of the chair or floor beneath you. Feel this quiet, gravitational conversation. Finally, we arrive at the fourth layer, integrated perception. Open your eyes again with that same soft, spacious gaze. Spend about 3 minutes here. Now, let all your senses blend together. See the light, hear the sounds, feel the contact with your body, all as one unified field of experiencing. In this space, there is no separate you seeing a separate world. There is just this one luminous, sounding, textured happening. Simply rest here, as an open space in which all of perception naturally unfolds. The formal practice trains the mind. The real transformation happens when you bring this quality into the flow of your day. The commute re-enchanted. On your journey to work, see the world as Lorenzo the mapmaker would. Don't see buildings, see patterns of windows, textures of brick, the way glass reflects clouds. Don't hear traffic, hear a symphony of rhythms, the bass of an engine, the percussion of a manhole cover, the treble of a distant siren. The meal is a ceremony, eat one bite of your next meal with fresh eyes. See the food's architecture. Smell its aroma as a unique chemical bouquet. Feel its texture on your tongue before chewing. Taste it as a constellation of sensations, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami, and the physical sensations of temperature and texture. The conversation as a landscape, listen to someone speak. Hear not just the words, but the music of their voice, its pitch, its rhythm, its pauses. See their face not as a familiar mask, but as a living landscape of micro-expressions, the play of light in their eyes, the subtle tension or ease around the mouth. Two major obstacles arise. First, the intellectual protest, this is just pretending. I know it's a cup. This is the voice of the full cup. Gently reply, yes, functionally, it is a cup. But for these few moments, I am exploring the reality beneath the function. I am remembering how to perceive. Second, the practicality protest, I can't do this all day. I have to get things done. And you're right. This isn't about perceiving freshly every second. It's about creating punctuation marks of presence throughout your day, a 1-minute fresh eyes break while waiting for coffee, a 5-second fresh look at your child's face when they enter the room. These moments act as resets, draining the staleness from your perception and reminding you that you are alive in a living world. For years, I ate my lunch on the same park bench. I'd scroll through my phone, my perception of the park reduced to a green blur. One day, my phone died. Annoyed, I was forced to just sit. With nothing to do, I began, reluctantly, to practice fresh eyes. I saw the oak tree I'd sat under 100 times. But today, I saw that its bark wasn't just brown. It was a galaxy of grays, silvers, and blacks, with deep fissures that looked like river deltas on some ancient planet. I saw how one specific branch forked in a perfect Y, cradling a small, abandoned bird's nest like a bony hand holding a cup. I saw the dappled light on the grass, and how each patch of light had a slightly different shape and intensity. I heard at least 5 different bird calls I'd never consciously registered, weaving a complex conversation. For 20 minutes, I was in a state of quiet awe. The park hadn't changed. I had switched from looking at my idea of park to perceiving the park itself. When I walked back to work, the world seemed sharper, more vivid, more real. The afternoon's tasks felt less burdensome. I had been refreshed not by rest, but by the act of truly seeing. Ultimately, fresh eyes meditation is an antidote to the soul-numbing disease of familiarity. It is the practice that turns existence back into an experience. It returns you to the fundamental truth that you are not a thinker temporarily inhabiting a body, but a conscious sense organ embedded in a mysterious, unfolding universe. You don't need to travel to see wonders. You need only to pause the automatic labeling machine of your mind and receive the wonder that is already, always, presenting itself. The cup, the tree, the sound of rain, the face of a loved one, they are all waiting for you to see them again, for the very first time. In a world that equates certainty with strength and not knowing with weakness, the most radical and liberating dimension of beginner's mind may be this, the conscious, comfortable embrace of not knowing. This is not the ignorance of absence, but the wisdom of spaciousness. It is not a gap in understanding to be anxiously filled, but a fertile field where genuine insight can take root. To say, "I don't know," from this place is not an admission of defeat, it is a declaration of openness, an invitation to reality to reveal itself on its own terms. We are culturally conditioned from childhood to fear the blank space of an exam question, the silence after, "I don't know." We learn to bluff, to defend shaky positions, to cling to outdated answers just to avoid the vertigo of uncertainty. Yet, all major breakthroughs in science, art, and human understanding have been born in this very space, in the courageous acknowledgement that the current maps are incomplete, that the old stories no longer suffice. In a great library in Córdoba during the Islamic Golden Age, there was a chief librarian named Zayd. His life was the written word. He could navigate the labyrinth of scrolls and codices blindfolded. He knew which texts contained answers to questions of law, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. His mind was a living index. One day, a desert nomad, a woman of the Bedouin, was brought to the library seeking wisdom for a tribe dispute. Zayd, with kind efficiency, led her to the relevant sections of Islamic jurisprudence. She listened patiently, then shook her head. These are the words of wise men who lived in cities, who heard arguments within walls. My dispute is under an open sky, with the wind carrying the voices of the ancestors in the sand. The law is silent on the language of dunes. Zayd was perplexed. The library had never failed him. Then what is your answer? He asked. I do not know, she said simply. But I know how to listen for it. I will sit where the dispute happened. I will listen to the wind at dawn. I will watch how the shadows of the arguing men fall upon the ground. The land itself will whisper the verdict that fits this day, for this wound. The law is not in the book for this. It is in the listening. For Zayd, this was heresy. Truth was captured, codified, shelved. Her truth was emergent, contextual, spoken by the land itself. He dismissed her, but her words haunted him. Years later, a fire ravaged a wing of the library. Facing the smoldering ruins of certain knowledge, Zayd remembered the Bedouin woman. In that moment of profound loss, his cup of knowing was violently emptied. And in that emptiness, he understood her. He saw that his library, for all its glory, was a museum of past answers. Her practice was a method for discovering present truths. He had known about wisdom. She knew how to be wise. He spent his remaining years not just restoring texts, but establishing a garden within the library. A place of silence and open sky, a physical, I don't know, where students could go to listen for what the books could not tell them. Psychologists study a trait called tolerance for ambiguity, the ability to perceive ambiguity in information and behavior without discomfort or anxiety. People with low tolerance crave certainty, even false certainty, and see the world in black and white. Those with high tolerance can comfortably hold multiple, contradictory possibilities in mind, accepting that some questions have no clear answer yet. Beginner's mind deliberately cultivates a high tolerance for ambiguity. It says, it's okay for this moment to be unresolved. It's okay for me to not have a conclusion. This reduces cognitive dissonance, the mental stress of holding conflicting beliefs, and opens the door to more complex, nuanced understanding. Furthermore, the Dunning-Kruger effect shows that people with low ability in a domain often overestimate their competence. Their cup feels full, while true experts are more aware of the vastness of what they don't know. They perceive their empty space. The path to wisdom involves moving from the first peak of, I know, into the valley of, I don't know, before ascending the slower, more authentic slope of actual understanding. We can train ourselves to become comfortable with not knowing through specific practices that actively reframe uncertainty from a threat into an opportunity. The first practice is the I don't know journal. For 1 week, carry a small notebook with you. Whenever you feel that internal pressure to have an immediate answer, whether in a meeting, facing a personal dilemma, or even while reading the news, and you realize you genuinely do not know, pause and write it down. Phrase it simply. I don't know if this business strategy will work. Or, I don't know what my friend really needs from me right now. Or, I don't know what the right political solution is. The simple act of writing it down externalizes the mental pressure and, most importantly, validates your not knowing as an honest and completely acceptable state of mind. The second practice is the question formulation technique. When you are faced with a problem or a decision, make a rule for yourself. For the first 5 full minutes, you are forbidden from brainstorming any answers at all. Instead, your only task is to brainstorm questions. Write down every single question you can think of about the situation, no matter how naive, broad, or unconventional. Ask things like, what does this problem look like from the perspective of time? Or, what am I assuming that might be completely wrong? Or, what is the very smallest piece of this that I can understand? This practice powerfully shifts your identity from being an answer giver to being an explorer, subconsciously making the state of not knowing the very engine of your inquiry. The third practice is the beginner's brief meditation. Sit quietly for a few moments and bring to mind a topic you consider yourself quite knowledgeable about. It could be your job, a relationship, or a hobby. Now, deliberately and consciously approach that topic as if you were a complete beginner. Ask yourself, if I knew absolutely nothing about this, what would I notice first? What would confuse me or seem strange? What simple, fundamental questions would I ask that experts no longer even bother with? This mental exercise creates a temporary but powerful empty space right in the middle of your own expertise, allowing you to see a familiar subject with fresh curiosity and wonder. The difference between "I don't know" and apathy. A crucial distinction must be made. The "I don't know" of beginner's mind is active, engaged, and curious. It is a vigilant not knowing. The "I don't know" of apathy is passive, disengaged, and resigned. One leans forward into the mystery, the other turns away from it. The test is in the quality of attention that follows the admission. Apathetic not knowing leads to distraction or shutdown. Beginner's not knowing leads to closer observation, deeper listening, and more sincere questioning. It is the fertile void from which true learning grows. The greatest obstacle is often social. We fear that saying, "I don't know," will make us look incompetent, weak, or unintelligent. Yet, consider the impact. In a work setting, a leader who says, "I don't know. Let's find out together," builds psychological safety and collaborative intelligence. In a relationship, saying, "I don't know how you feel. Can you help me understand?" invites intimacy and deep listening. In parenting, saying, "I don't know why that happened. Let's explore it," models curiosity and resilience for your child. Paradoxically, admitting, "I don't know," often increases others' trust in you, because it signals intellectual honesty and confidence strong enough to not need pretense. Early in my teaching career, I prided myself on having an answer for every student's question. My cup was full of the right way to understand the material. One day, a thoughtful student asked a question that came from such a unique angle that it stopped me cold. My mind scrambled for a prepared answer and found none. The old fear rose: I would lose credibility. Instead, I took a breath and said, "That's a brilliant question. I don't know the answer. I've never considered it from that perspective." The classroom went quiet. Then, I said, "Let's think it through together. What do we know that might apply?" What followed was the most vibrant, collaborative discussion of the semester. Students who rarely spoke offered insights. We didn't arrive at a neat, textbook answer. We arrived at a richer, messier, more interesting understanding. My "I don't know" had not been a wall, it had been an open door. After class, the student who asked the question said, "Thank you for not giving us a pat answer. That felt like real thinking." That moment taught me that authority doesn't come from having all the answers, but from holding a safe and curious space where questions, including your own, can live and breathe. Ultimately, the gift of not knowing frees us from the tyranny of having to have life figured out. It allows us to be a perpetual student. Life becomes an endless curriculum, not a test you've already passed or failed. Navigate change. When you don't cling to a fixed map, you can adapt when the terrain shifts. Experience wonder. Mystery is not a problem to be solved, but a dimension of reality to be appreciated. Connect authentically. You meet others not from the fortress of your certainty, but from the common ground of shared curiosity. Embrace the questions. Cherish the gaps in your knowledge. For it is in those very gaps that the light of new understanding enters. The next time you feel the anxiety of not knowing, see if you can lean into it just a little. Whisper to yourself, "I don't know," and that's where the adventure begins. Our minds are equipped with a powerful, dual-function tool. One setting is the judge. It evaluates, compares, categorizes, and delivers verdicts, good/bad, right/wrong, like/dislike. The other setting is the explorer. It observes, questions, wonders, and investigates. Most of us spend our days with the judge on autopilot, constantly assessing our experience and the world around us. Beginner's mind invites us to make a conscious, radical shift, to deactivate the automatic judge and engage the deliberate explorer. This is the practice of choosing curiosity over judgment. Judgment is efficient. It allows us to make quick decisions based on past experience. But it is also a closing gesture. Once we've judged something, we stop looking at it. Curiosity, by contrast, is an opening gesture. It says, "I don't have a conclusion yet. Tell me more. Show me." In Victorian England, a brilliant but arrogant forensic investigator, Alastair, was renowned for his logical deductions. He saw the world as a crime scene to be solved, full of clues that pointed to clear, singular truths. His mind was a sharp, unforgiving judge. He was assigned a perplexing case, a series of mysterious deaths linked to a noble family's estate. Alastair arrived, examined the bodies, interviewed the family with suspicion, and quickly judged the reclusive groundskeeper, a man named Silas, as the prime suspect. Silas was odd, spoke to plants, and maintained a walled, poison garden, full of toxic species. Alastair was ready to make an arrest when the lead detective, a woman named Eleanor with a famously open mind, stopped him. "You've judged the man," she said. "But have you investigated the garden? It's a poison garden." "Case closed," Alastair scoffed. "Precisely why we should be curious," Eleanor replied. She spent the next day not interrogating, but following Silas as he tended his deadly plants. She asked naive questions without accusation. "What does this one feel like to touch? Does that one have a smell when it blooms? Do they ever talk back?" Silas, disarmed by her curiosity, opened up. He explained the subtle differences between similar-looking toxic species, how their effects varied with preparation and dosage, and, crucially, how several rare, non-poisonous healing herbs grew only intermixed with the poisonous ones, a symbiotic relationship he was studying. Eleanor's curiosity revealed what Alastair's judgment had missed. The specific toxin in the victims matched not a common poison from the garden, but a rare, mutated fungus that had attacked a particular medicinal plant Silas was cultivating to treat the family's ailing matriarch. The deaths were a tragic accident of nature, not malice. By judging the garden as merely poison, Alastair had blinded himself to its complex ecology. By approaching it with curiosity, Eleanor discovered the truth. Alastair's mind was a closed courtroom. Eleanor's was an open field for exploration. Brain imaging studies show that when our minds are at rest, not focused on a task, they often default to a network associated with self-referential thinking, judgment, and rumination, the default mode network, DMN. This is the judge's chambers. It's where we compare ourselves to others, replay past slights, and worry about the future. It's a state of being lost in thought about our experience, rather than being present to it. Practices that cultivate curiosity and present moment awareness, like mindfulness, have been shown to reduce activity in the DMN. When you engage the explorer, you literally switch your brain from a judging, narrative-making mode to a sensing, investigating mode. Curiosity quietens the inner critic and activates regions associated with learning and reward. This shift requires conscious retraining. Here is a 3-step method to practice throughout your day. Step 1. Catch the gavel mid-swing. The first skill is simply to notice when judgment arises. It happens countless times a day. This traffic is terrible. My coworker is lazy. I look tired. Create a mental marker. When you hear that judging tone in your inner voice, picture a judge's gavel frozen in midair. Say to yourself, judging. Step 2, transform the verdict into a question. This is the alchemical step. Don't try to stop the judgment or replace it with a positive one, which is just another judgment. Transform it into a curious question. Judgment, this meeting is pointless. Curiosity, what is one thing I can learn from the person speaking right now? Judgment, I'm so clumsy for spilling that. Curiosity, what is the exact path the liquid took? What does the pattern look like? Judgment, that person is rude. Curiosity, I wonder what kind of day they're having. What might their body language be communicating beyond the words? The question doesn't need an answer. Its purpose is to pivot your attention from evaluation to observation. Step 3, engage the senses. Ground your curiosity in direct sensory experience. The explorer's primary tools are the senses. When judgment arises about a situation, drop into your body. See, what are 5 colors in your immediate environment you hadn't noticed? Hear, what is the most distant sound you can detect? The closest? Feel, what is the temperature of the air on the back of your hands? Smell/taste, is there a subtle scent in the air? A taste lingering from your last drink? This sensory engagement yanks your awareness out of the abstract world of judgment and into the concrete world of present reality, which is always more complex and interesting than any verdict could be. Nowhere is the shift from judge to explorer more transformative than in our relationships. When we judge someone, we relate to our idea of them, a fixed character in our personal story. When we approach them with curiosity, we relate to the living, changing mystery of who they are right now. Practice curious listening. In your next conversation, make your sole internal task to be curious. Don't listen to agree or disagree. Listen to understand their unique world. Ask follow-up questions born of genuine wonder. What was that like for you? What made you see it that way? Can you tell me more about that feeling? You'll be amazed at how conflicts soften and connections deepen when people feel truly seen and wondered about, rather than assessed. A valid objection arises. Are we to be curious about injustice? About harm? The practice isn't about abolishing discernment or moral compass. It's about suspending automatic, preemptive judgment so we can see clearly enough to make a wise discernment. The judge reacts based on prejudice and past pain. The explorer gathers data. After curious exploration, you may still conclude an action is wrong or a situation is harmful. But that conclusion will be based on nuanced understanding rather than reactive labeling. Curiosity leads to wiser action, knee-jerk judgment often leads to unskillful reaction. I once had a neighbor who practiced the violin late at night. He was not yet skilled. The sounds were screechy, repetitive, and broke my concentration. My judge was swift and brutal. He's inconsiderate. That noise is awful. I need to complain. One night, fueled by irritation, I went onto my balcony to pinpoint the offense. But instead of just fuming, I remembered the practice. I caught the gavel. I shifted. I decided, just for a moment, to be curious about the sound itself. I closed my eyes. I stopped hearing bad violin. I listened to the raw sounds, the uncertain scrape of the bow, the wavering pitch searching for its true note, the long pauses, the sigh of frustration I could now hear through the window. I heard the profound courage in the repetition. Someone was trying, in the privacy of night, to coax beauty from a wooden box and horsehair. My judgment had heard an annoyance. My curiosity heard a human struggle toward art. My reaction transformed. I didn't complain. A few days later, I left an anonymous, encouraging note, "Keep practicing. I hear you getting better." The late-night sessions didn't stop, but my suffering did. I even began to appreciate his progress. The screeches became signs of effort, the occasional pure note a small victory we shared across the alley. Curiosity didn't change the sound waves, it changed my relationship to them, and in doing so, changed my experience from one of irritation to one of quiet, shared humanity. Choosing curiosity over judgment is ultimately choosing aliveness over automation. The judge's world is small, known, and colored by past experience. The explorer's world is infinite, fresh, and full of surprise. It turns boredom into interest, frustration into fascination, and conflict into understanding. It is the essential mindset for creativity, for learning, and for love. As you move through your coming days, play with this. When you feel the familiar clutch of judgment, about yourself, about another, about a situation, pause. See if you can, just for a heartbeat, trade the gavel for a lantern. Ask a simple, honest question. And step forward into the richer, more mysterious world that curiosity reveals. Our minds are equipped with a powerful, dual-function tool. One setting is the judge. It evaluates, compares, categorizes, and delivers verdicts, good/bad, right/wrong, like/dislike. The other setting is the explorer. It observes, questions, wonders, and investigates. Most of us spend our days with the judge on autopilot, constantly assessing our experience and the world around us. Beginner's mind invites us to make a conscious, radical shift, to deactivate the automatic judge and engage the deliberate explorer. This is the practice of choosing curiosity over judgment. Judgment is efficient. It allows us to make quick decisions based on past experience. But it is also a closing gesture. Once we've judged something, we stop looking at it. Curiosity, by contrast, is an opening gesture. It says, I don't have a conclusion yet. Tell me more. Show me. In Victorian England, a brilliant but arrogant forensic investigator, Alistair, was renowned for his logical deductions. He saw the world as a crime scene to be solved, full of clues that pointed to clear, singular truths. His mind was a sharp, unforgiving judge. He was assigned a perplexing case, a series of mysterious deaths linked to a noble family's estate. Alistair arrived, examined the bodies, interviewed the family with suspicion, and quickly judged the reclusive groundskeeper, a man named Silas, as the prime suspect. Silas was odd, spoke to plants, and maintained a walled, poison garden, full of toxic species. Alistair was ready to make an arrest when the lead detective, a woman named Eleanor with a famously open mind, stopped him. You've judged the man, she said. But have you investigated the garden? It's a poison garden. Case closed, Alistair scoffed. Precisely why we should be curious, Eleanor replied. She spent the next day not interrogating, but following Silas as he tended his deadly plants. She asked naive questions without accusation. What does this one feel like to touch? Does that one have a smell when it blooms? Do they ever talk back? Silas, disarmed by her curiosity, opened up. He explained the subtle differences between similar-looking toxic species, how their effects varied with preparation and dosage, and, crucially, how several rare, non-poisonous healing herbs grew only intermixed with the poisonous ones, a symbiotic relationship he was studying. Eleanor's curiosity revealed what Alistair's judgment had missed. The specific toxin in the victims matched not a common poison from the garden, but a rare, mutated fungus that had attacked a particular medicinal plant Silas was cultivating to treat the family's ailing matriarch. The deaths were a tragic accident of nature, not malice. By judging the garden as merely poison, Alistair had blinded himself to its complex ecology. By approaching it with curiosity, Eleanor discovered the truth. Alistair's mind was a closed courtroom. Eleanor's was an open field for exploration. Brain imaging studies show that when our minds are at rest, not focused on a task, they often default to a network associated with self-referential thinking, judgment, and rumination, the default mode network, DMN. This is the judge's chambers. It's where we compare ourselves to others, replay past slights, and worry about the future. It's a state of being lost in thought about our experience, rather than being present to it. Practices that cultivate curiosity and present moment awareness, like mindfulness, have been shown to reduce activity in the DMN. When you engage the explorer, you literally switch your brain from a judging, narrative-making mode to a sensing, investigating mode. Curiosity quietens the inner critic and activates regions associated with learning and reward. The practice, retraining the mind from judge to explorer. This shift requires conscious retraining. Here is a 3-step method to practice throughout your day. Step 1. Catch the gavel mid-swing. The first skill is simply to notice when judgment arises. It happens countless times a day. This traffic is terrible. My coworker is lazy. I look tired. Create a mental marker. When you hear that judging tone in your inner voice, picture a judge's gavel frozen in mid-air. Say to yourself, judging. Step 2. Transform the verdict into a question. This is the alchemical step. Don't try to stop the judgment or replace it with a positive one, which is just another judgment. Transform it into a curious question. Judgment, this meeting is pointless. Curiosity, what is one thing I can learn from the person speaking right now? Judgment, I'm so clumsy for spilling that. Curiosity, what is the exact path the liquid took? What does the pattern look like? Judgment, that person is rude. Curiosity, I wonder what kind of day they're having. What might their body language be communicating beyond the words? The question doesn't need an answer. Its purpose is to pivot your attention from evaluation to observation. Step 3. Engage the senses. Ground your curiosity in direct sensory experience. The explorer's primary tools are the senses. When judgment arises about a situation, drop into your body. See, what are 5 colors in your immediate environment you hadn't noticed? Hear, what is the most distant sound you can detect? The closest? Feel, what is the temperature of the air on the back of your hands? Smell/taste, is there a subtle scent in the air? A taste lingering from your last drink? This sensory engagement yanks your awareness out of the abstract world of judgment and into the concrete world of present reality, which is always more complex and interesting than any verdict could be. Nowhere is the shift from judge to explorer more transformative than in our relationships. When we judge someone, we relate to our idea of them, a fixed character in our personal story. When we approach them with curiosity, we relate to the living, changing mystery of who they are right now. Practice curious listening. In your next conversation, make your sole internal task to be curious. Don't listen to agree or disagree. Listen to understand their unique world. Ask follow-up questions born of genuine wonder. What was that like for you? What made you see it that way? Can you tell me more about that feeling? You'll be amazed at how conflicts soften and connections deepen when people feel truly seen and wondered about, rather than assessed. A valid objection arises. Are we to be curious about injustice? About harm? The practice isn't about abolishing discernment or moral compass. It's about suspending automatic, preemptive judgment so we can see clearly enough to make a wise discernment. The judge reacts based on prejudice and past pain. The explorer gathers data. After curious exploration, you may still conclude an action is wrong or a situation is harmful. But that conclusion will be based on nuanced understanding rather than reactive labeling. Curiosity leads to wiser action, knee-jerk judgment often leads to unskillful reaction. I once had a neighbor who practiced the violin late at night. He was not yet skilled. The sounds were screechy, repetitive, and broke my concentration. My judge was swift and brutal. He's inconsiderate. That noise is awful. I need to complain. One night, fueled by irritation, I went onto my balcony to pinpoint the offense. But instead of just fuming, I remembered the practice. I caught the gavel. I shifted. I decided, just for a moment, to be curious about the sound itself. I closed my eyes. I stopped hearing bad violin. I listened to the raw sounds. The uncertain scrape of the bow, the wavering pitch searching for its true note, the long pauses, the sigh of frustration I could now hear through the window. I heard the profound courage in the repetition. Someone was trying, in the privacy of night, to coax beauty from a wooden box and horsehair. My judgment had heard an annoyance. My curiosity heard a human struggle toward art. My reaction transformed. I didn't complain. A few days later, I left an anonymous, encouraging note. Keep practicing. I hear you getting better. The late-night sessions didn't stop, but my suffering did. I even began to appreciate his progress. The screeches became signs of effort, the occasional pure note a small victory we shared across the alley. Curiosity didn't change the sound waves, it changed my relationship to them, and in doing so, changed my experience from one of irritation to one of quiet, shared humanity. Choosing curiosity over judgment is ultimately choosing aliveness over automation. The judge's world is small, known, and colored by past experience. The explorer's world is infinite, fresh, and full of surprise. It turns boredom into interest, frustration into fascination, and conflict into understanding. It is the essential mindset for creativity, for learning, and for love. As you move through your coming days, play with this. When you feel the familiar clutch of judgment about yourself, about another, about a situation, pause. See if you can, just for a heartbeat, trade the gavel for a lantern. Ask a simple, honest question. And step forward into the richer, more mysterious world that curiosity reveals. We often speak of putting away childish things as the hallmark of maturity. We trade open-eyed wonder for weary cynicism, spontaneous play for serious purpose, and wholehearted absorption for multitasking efficiency. But what if this cultural narrative has stolen from us one of our most vital resources? What if true maturity isn't the abandonment of childlike qualities, but their graceful integration into our adult capabilities? This is the reclamation of wonder, not as a regression, but as an essential dimension of beginner's mind that keeps our perception supple, our hearts open, and our engagement with life vibrant. A child does not see a dandelion as a weed. They see a sun, a clock, a wish-granter, a puffball of magic. They are not wrong. They are simply perceiving more dimensions of reality than the single, utilitarian category of "weed" allows. The adult has gained a fact but lost a universe. Beginner's mind seeks to hold both, to know the fact and to preserve the capacity for wonder. It is wisdom with its sense of humor intact, knowledge that still remembers how to play. In a bustling port city in the Hanseatic League, there lived a master shipwright named Klaus. His life was ruled by the sober principles of hydrodynamics, load-bearing timber, and precise joinery. His ships were renowned for their seaworthiness and efficiency. His mind was a fortress of practical knowledge, his cup full of the right way to build. Klaus had a young grandson, Finn, who was fascinated by flight. While Klaus worked, Finn would build intricate kites from scraps of sailcloth and bent willow. To Klaus, this was frivolous, a waste of good materials on toys that served no purpose, that broke in the wind, that defied the serious logic of his world. One stormy afternoon, a gust tore Finn's favorite kite from his hands, sending it careening into the shipyard. It danced a crazed, unpredictable ballet before snagging in the complex rigging of Klaus's nearly completed flagship. Enraged, Klaus climbed up to retrieve the nuisance. But as he disentangled the fragile wooden frame, the storm intensified. The wind, channeled through the ship's masts and rigging, began to make a sound, a deep, harmonic hum that Klaus had never heard. The entire ship seemed to sing. Hanging there, kite in hand, Klaus looked down. He saw the wind, his ancient adversary and ally, not as a force to be resisted with bulkheads, but as a musician playing the ship like a colossal instrument. He saw the kite's design, its careful balance, its light frame, and for a flash, he didn't see a toy. He saw a principle of air and tension, a dialogue with the wind that his heavy, load-bearing ships never had. He climbed down in silence. He didn't scold Finn. That evening, he asked the boy to show him how to build a kite. As his gnarled, practical hands fumbled with the delicate ties, he experienced something he hadn't in decades. The pure joy of making something for the sake of discovery, with no purpose other than to see if it would fly. He was terrible at it. He laughed at his own clumsiness. From that day, something in Klaus's work shifted imperceptibly. His ships lost no seaworthiness, but they gained a subtle, flowing line in the hull that made them slightly faster. Colleagues said they seemed to greet the waves more gracefully. Klaus had integrated a child's playful dialogue with the wind into his master's dialogue with the sea. He hadn't become childish. He had become more complete. Wonder is not just a feeling, it's a neurological state that promotes learning and brain health. When we experience wonder, that sense of vastness and mystery in the face of something beautiful or astonishing, studies show it activates regions of the brain associated with reward, learning, and the inhibition of the default mode network, that judging, self-referential chatter. Furthermore, engaging in playful, novel activities, like Klaus building a kite, is a powerful driver of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections. Play forces the brain out of its well-worn, efficient ruts and into new patterns of thinking and problem-solving. In a very real sense, Cultivating childlike wonder keeps your brain young, flexible, and creative. Play researcher Dr. Stuart Brown calls play a state of being that is purposeless, fun, and pleasurable. This is the state of beginner's mind, engaging in the moment for its own sake, not for a future outcome. It's the antidote to the instrumental mindset that asks of everything, what's this for? What's the ROI? The practice, reclaiming your sense of wonder. We don't need to build kites or undertake grand adventures to cultivate wonder. We can nurture it through simple, deliberate practices that reconnect us with the first-timeness of ordinary experience. The first practice is the daily astonishment. Make a commitment to find one thing each day that genuinely astonishes you, and either share it with someone or jot it down in a note. This can be something profoundly simple. The perfect geometry of a spiderweb beaded with morning rain, the fact that your heart has beat without your conscious command since before you were born, or the way steam curls from your cup in a unique, never-to-be-repeated pattern. The very act of consciously looking for wonder trains your perception to find it everywhere. Second, play with a beginner's stance. Choose an activity you are genuinely, objectively bad at. Whether it's drawing, dancing, juggling, or speaking a few phrases of a new language. Engage in it for just 10 minutes with the explicit goal of being hilariously incompetent. Laugh freely at your mistakes. Remember, there is no performance review. The goal is not improvement or mastery, the goal is to re-experience the raw, unedited process of trying something completely new, free from the immense weight of adult expertise and expectation. Third, practice the as if for the first time ritual. Take one routine you perform daily, like making your morning beverage, showering, or walking your dog, and perform it tomorrow as if for the very first time. When making your coffee, pretend you are an anthropologist from Mars encountering this strange and intricate human ritual for the very first time. Examine the tools with fresh eyes, smell the grounds as if discovering a new scent, watch the water drip with rapt, wondering attention. This consciously breaks the hypnosis of habit by infusing it with deliberate wonder. And fourth, go on a wonder walk. Go for a walk with absolutely no destination or goal. Your only task is to follow your immediate curiosity. See an interesting alleyway. Go down it. Hear intriguing music. Follow the sound. Notice a peculiar tree with textured bark. Go and touch it. Let the intuitive, curious child within you choose the entire path, while the responsible adult within you simply provides safe accompaniment. Confronting the internal barriers, this is silly, and I don't have time. Two powerful inhibitors arise. First, the inner critic/judge will scoff, this is silly. You're an adult. Act like one. This voice mistakes seriousness for significance. Gently remind it that every great invention, every work of art, every scientific breakthrough was born from someone allowing themselves to play with ideas, to be silly in their curiosity. Albert Einstein famously said, "Play is the highest form of research." Second, the time barrier feels insurmountable. I have responsibilities. I can't just go wonder walking. But wonder doesn't require hours, it requires a shift in attention. It can be a 30-second pause to truly look at the moon, a 2-minute detour to watch a construction machine, a 5-second marvel at the complexity of your own thumb. These are microdoses of wonder that act as perceptual resets throughout a busy day. Bringing childlike wonder into your interactions changes their quality profoundly. In relationships, it means looking at your partner or child not as a known entity, but as a constantly unfolding mystery. Ask them questions you don't know the answer to. Be genuinely surprised by their thoughts. At work, it means approaching problems not with the weary certainty of, "We've tried that before," but with the playful curiosity of, "What if we looked at this upside down?" Wonder fuels innovation because it asks, "Why?" and "What if?" long after the practical mind has settled for, because, and, that's impossible. A team that feels safe to wonder together is a team that solves problems creatively. A family that shares moments of awe is a family bonded by something deeper than routine. Years ago, I lost my house keys in a large, overgrown backyard. My initial reaction was adult frustration, judgment. How could I be so careless? Problem solving. I need to retrace my steps logically, and stress. I'm going to be late. After 20 fruitless minutes of grim searching, I surrendered. I sat down on the grass, defeated. And then, I shifted. I decided to search not as a stressed adult, but as a child on a treasure hunt. I got on my hands and knees. Instantly, the world changed. The lawn was no longer a uniform green expanse, it was a towering jungle. A beetle became a fascinating armored tank on an epic journey. A dandelion clock was a galaxy of seeds. I noticed the incredible variation in blades of grass, the intricate architecture of ant trails, the way the light filtered through clover. I was absorbed, curious, delighting in the small world I had been stomping across in irritation minutes before. I found the key nestled in a patch of moss, gleaming like a prize. But the real discovery was the half-hour of timeless, joyful presence. I had traded a stressful task for a miniature safari. The key let me back into my house, but the wonder let me back into my own senses. The goal is not to become a child, but to become an adult who has successfully integrated the child's core gifts, the capacity for wholehearted absorption, the resilience of play, and the courageous openness to wonder. This integrated state, the wise child, is the essence of beginner's mind in its most joyful form. It is the shipwright who can study blueprints with a master's eye and still feel his heart leap at the sight of a simple kite dancing in a storm. It is you, bringing your full adult competence to the world, while never losing the ability to be stopped in your tracks by the slant of afternoon light, or the sound of rain, or the inexplicable beauty of an ordinary Tuesday. Cultivate that. Protect it. For in a world that often asks you to be endlessly serious and productive, your sense of wonder is not a luxury. It is your lifeline to aliveness itself. In music, it is the rest between notes that gives rhythm its shape. In calligraphy, it is the empty space surrounding the ink that defines the character. In conversation, it is the pause that allows meaning to land. Our attention is naturally drawn to the foreground, the sound, the stroke, the spoken word. Yet, beginner's mind understands that profound wisdom and peace are often found not in the things themselves, but in the space between. This is the practice of attending to the negative space, the silence, the gaps, and the transitions, the fertile ground from which all form emerges and to which it returns. We live in a culture that fears gaps. We fill silence with small talk, transitions with distraction, and mental pauses with more content. We treat empty space as a vacuum to be filled, rather than as a sacred container that holds everything together. But when we learn to rest our awareness in the space between, we touch the fundamental stillness that underlies all activity. We discover that we are not just the notes being played, we are also the silence that holds the music. In the ancient city of Petra, carved from rose-red cliffs, there was a renowned stonecutter named Ider. His skill was not just in carving figures from solid rock, but in knowing exactly where not to carve. While apprentices focused on chiseling details, the curve of an eyebrow, the fold of a robe, Ider would spend days, sometimes weeks, simply observing a rock face. He would sit in the changing light, feeling the sun's warmth on different sections, listening to the way wind hummed through its natural fissures. Other carvers saw the rock as a block to be dominated. Ider saw it as a conversation partner. He believed the statue was already sleeping inside the stone, and his job was to remove everything that was not the statue. The spaces he chose to leave, the deep shadow between an arm and a torso, the untouched plane of stone behind the head that framed it against the sky, were as deliberate as the features he carved. His most famous work, A Towering Goddess, was celebrated not just for her form, but for the way the canyon's light at dawn would fill the specific hollow he had left at her throat, making it seem as if she was singing with sunlight. A young, impatient apprentice once asked, "Master, why do you waste so much time staring at the stone before you even lift a tool? The form is in your mind. Just carve it out." Ider handed the boy a chisel and pointed to a blank section of cliff. "Carve me the space between two thoughts," he said. The apprentice was baffled. "You can't carve emptiness." "Ah," Ider smiled. "But you can honor it. You can define it. That is what we do. We do not create the figure. We create the space that makes the figure visible. The silence around the word is what gives the word its meaning. First, learn to see the spaces. Then, the forms will tell you how to free them. Our nervous system has two primary modes. The sympathetic, action, stress, fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, rest, digest, rest and restore. Modern life chronically activates the sympathetic system, keeping us in a state of continuous, low-grade doing and reacting. The practice of attending to the space between, the pause, the gap, the silence, actively stimulates the parasympathetic system. It triggers the relaxation response, lowering heart rate, blood pressure, and stress hormones. Furthermore, brain research on mindfulness shows that focusing on the gap between thoughts or the pause between breaths increases activity in the insula, a region involved in interoceptive awareness, feeling the internal state of the body. This strengthens our ability to sense subtle shifts in our physiology and emotions, giving us a richer, more nuanced experience of being alive. We become less identified with the content of our thoughts, the notes, and more anchored in the aware presence that witnesses them, the silence. This practice is about a fundamental shift in focus, from the obvious objects in the foreground to the subtle background field that contains them. This can be applied to every one of your senses, in any moment. First, explore the auditory space, or listening to silence. Find a relatively quiet place and close your eyes. For 1 minute, actively listen for sounds, the notes. Notice each one as it appears. Then, for the next minute, make a conscious shift. Instead of listening for sounds, listen to the silence that holds them. Don't anticipate the next sound. Just attend to the quiet field from which all sounds emerge and into which they eventually fade. Feel the depth and the tangible texture of that silence. Understand that it is not an empty absence, but a living presence. Second, practice seeing the visual space. Look at a busy scene. A shelf full of books, a tree dense with leaves, a crowded city street. Soften your gaze. Instead of focusing on any single object, the book, the leaf, the person, allow your attention to gently expand. Take in the spaces between the objects. See the shapes of the gaps. See the air, the light, the very distance that separates and defines each thing. With this shift, the world will begin to appear less like a collection of separate items and more like a single, interconnected tapestry of form and space. Third, become aware of the cognitive space, the gap between your thoughts. In meditation, rather than focusing intently on the breath itself, practice resting in the simple awareness that knows the breath is happening. Notice the brief, quiet moment at the very end of an exhale, just before the next inhale begins. That is a physiological gap. In the same way, notice the tiny, natural pause between one thought ending and the next one beginning. Don't try to make this pause longer. Just gently notice it. That subtle gap is a direct taste of pure consciousness itself, momentarily undisturbed by any mental content. And fourth, harness the conversational space, the power of the pause. In your next conversation, make a practice of leaving a generous, conscious pause after the other person finishes speaking, and before you formulate your response. Mentally count to 2. In that intentional space, several important things happen. You fully hear and absorb what was said, you allow their words to resonate within you, you access a response from a place deeper than automatic habit, and you communicate a profound level of respect. The space between your words then transforms into a bridge of true understanding, rather than just being the next exchange in a relentless relay race of talking. This awareness transforms our relationship with time and activity. Transitions as sacred, the moment between finishing one task and starting the next is usually filled with rushing. Instead, make it a ritual space. When you close your laptop, sit for 3 breaths before standing up. Feel the completion. Feel the potential of what's next. Honor the threshold. Boredom as gateway. When you feel bored, instead of immediately reaching for your phone, see it as an opportunity. Boredom is often a gap in external stimulation. Rest in it. See what arises from within when you're not filling the space. Creativity often blossoms in such gaps. Sleep as the ultimate space, the space between waking and sleeping, hypnagogia, is a fertile ground for insight and relaxation. As you drift off tonight, pay attention to that liminal space. Don't chase thoughts. Float in the gentle dissolution of form. Why is this so challenging? Because we are addicted to content. An empty space can feel like a mirror, and we might not like what we see, or the fear that we will see nothing. We fear stillness because it confronts us with ourselves, stripped of our roles and distractions. The ego, which constructs itself from thoughts and activities, feels threatened by the spacious awareness that reveals its insubstantial nature. The practice is to gently lean into that discomfort. Start with small spaces. A 5-second pause feels safer than 5 minutes. As you become familiar with the peace and clarity that resides in the gap, the fear diminishes. You begin to crave these moments of spacious sanity amidst the noise. For years, my daily subway commute was a torment of noise and crowding, a foreground of irritation. One exhausting day, in sheer overwhelm, I put in noise-canceling headphones but played no music. I created an artificial silence. In that manufactured space between, something happened. I began to notice the real sounds not as a chaotic roar, but as a complex, rhythmic composition. The distant rumble of the train was the bass line. The chatter of different languages was a polyphonic melody. The beep of the doors was a percussive accent. The sighs, the rustle of newspapers, the screech of brakes, it was all part of a vast, improvised urban symphony. The empty space in my headphones had allowed me to hear the music that was always there. I had shifted from being an annoyed participant stuck in the noisy notes to being a curious audience member appreciating the whole composition, gaps and all. My commute didn't change. My relationship to it did. It became a fascinating, ever-changing soundscape instead of a stressful ordeal. I had learned to hear the space, and in doing so, found beauty in the noise. Practicing awareness of the space between leads to a profound understanding. Consciousness itself is the ultimate space. All experiences, thoughts, feelings, sensations, arise within and pass through this aware space, just as sounds arise and fade within silence. You are not primarily the thoughts, the notes. You are the aware presence, the silence, that knows them. When you anchor in this, life's dramas become less gripping. You can engage fully with the notes, the joys, the sorrows, the work, but you do so from the unshakable peace of the silence that holds them all. You become like Ida the stonecutter, honoring the emptiness that gives form its meaning and power. You discover that in the space between, you have always been home. Beginner's mind possesses a magical quality of scale. It can expand to embrace the vastness of the starry sky with awe, and in the very same instant, contract to focus with absolute devotion on the dewdrop trembling on a single blade of grass. This dual vision reveals a fundamental truth: the infinite is not out there, it is also hidden within the infinitesimal. Microscopic attention is the practice of bringing our full, beginner's curiosity to the smallest, most overlooked details of our world. In doing so, we discover that a universe of complexity, beauty, and intelligence resides in what we have dismissed as trivial or mundane. We walk through our days with a perceptual zoom lens set to medium. We see the room, not the dust motes dancing in the sunbeam. We see the forest, not the intricate pattern of lichen on a single stone. This medium view is practical, but it leaves us living in a generalized, somewhat blurry reality. Microscopic attention is the conscious act of clicking the lens to its highest magnification, revealing the breathtaking specificity of every moment. In the quiet heart of Switzerland, an old master watchmaker named Herr Gessler took on a final apprentice, a young woman named Ilara. His test was not to assemble a complex movement, but simpler. He gave her a disassembled, common pocket watch and a powerful loop. "Tell me," he said, "what is special about this watch?" Ilara, eager to prove her technical knowledge, began identifying parts. "This is the mainspring, this is the balance wheel, these are the jewel bearings." Gessler shook his head. "Any textbook can tell me that. I did not ask what it is. I asked what is special about it." Puzzled, Ilara put the loop to her eye and began to really look. Not at the function, but at the thing itself. After an hour of silent scrutiny, she began to speak, her voice full of quiet wonder. "The tip of the escape lever, it's not perfectly smooth. Under the glass, I can see minuscule, parallel striations. The craftsman who filed it was left-handed, and you can see the slight, consistent angle of each stroke. The largest jewel, here, it has a tiny, almost invisible inclusion, a fleck of something dark, like a star trapped in ruby. It is a flaw, but it makes this jewel unique in all the world. And on the inside of the case back, there is a fingerprint in the old oil. Someone held this bare brass before it was plated. A ghost from 1882. Gessler smiled for the first time. Now you are looking. You have met the watch. Every machine has two stories, the story of its purpose, and the story of its making. The first is abstract. The second is holy. To repair time, you must first learn to see the fingerprints left on eternity. Ilara learned that true mastery wasn't just knowing how the gears worked, but developing a relationship with the unique history embedded in this set of gears. Her microscopic attention revealed not just flaws, but personality, not just function, but soul. Nature operates on principles that often repeat across scales, a concept known as scale invariance, visible in fractals. A fern frond looks like a smaller version of the whole fern. A river delta from space looks like the branching pattern of veins in a leaf. This means the complexity and beauty we associate with grand vistas are often replicated in miniature. When you bring microscopic attention to a snowflake, a piece of bark, or a crystal of salt, you are not looking at a small thing. You are looking at a complete expression of the same geometric and physical laws that shape galaxies. Furthermore, focused attention on fine detail has a neurologically calming effect. It requires the brain to inhibit its usual broad, scanning mode and engage in a state of convergent focus. This quietens the default mode network, the home of anxious rumination, and can induce a state of flow, complete immersion in a task. In a world of overwhelming stimuli, focusing on one tiny thing can be a profound relief and a portal to peace. You don't need a magnifying glass or any special tools. You only need the clear intention to look closer at your world than you ever have before. Start with the 1-inch journey. Choose just a single square inch of your world to explore, a patch of carpet, a section of a wooden table, the back of your own hand. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Your only task is to explore that 1 square inch with your full attention. Use every sense you have. Look at the intricate variations in color and texture. Feel its temperature and its detailed topography. Smell it. If it's safe, even taste it. You will be absolutely astonished by how much universe exists within that single inch. You will discover entire landscapes, untold histories, and complex patterns you never knew were right in front of you. Next, try the slow-motion ritual. Take a daily routine, like making tea or brushing your teeth, and perform it in extreme, deliberate slow motion. Take 3 full minutes just to pick up the toothbrush. Observe its exact weight, its balance in your hand, the texture of the handle. Watch the toothpaste emerge from the tube like a slow, gleaming worm. Feel every single bristle make contact with every tooth. In this practice, you are decomposing an automatic habit into 100 fresh, discrete sensations, meeting each one with true beginner's curiosity. Then, practice sound magnification. Sit quietly and choose one ambient sound to follow with microscopic attention. Like the hum of a refrigerator. Don't just hear it as a generic hum. Dissect it. Is it a pure, steady tone, or does it waver? Does it have a subtle, rhythmic pulse within it? Can you detect higher, harmonic frequencies layered inside the main sound? Can you feel its vibration in your chest or your bones? Follow the sound with this depth of attention until it transforms from a background drone into a rich, complex symphony. Finally, engage in a taste exploration. At your very next meal, choose one single bite. Place it in your mouth and do not chew. Let it rest completely on your tongue. Explore its initial texture, its temperature, and the very first notes of flavor that begin to seep out. Then, chew once, with glacial slowness. Notice precisely how the entire flavor profile changes and unfolds. Chew once more. Continue with this patient, deliberate slowness until the bite is completely liquefied. Through this practice, you will experience a single raisin or a bite of bread as a profound, multi-act drama of sensation. This practice does more than enhance perception, it transforms your relationship with reality. It cultivates patience. When you see the world in fine detail, you understand that everything worthy of attention unfolds in its own time. You cannot rush the observation of a spider spinning its web. It fosters gratitude. Seeing the staggering complexity in a fallen leaf or a woven fabric inspires a deep sense of thankfulness for the intelligence woven into the fabric of existence. It dissolves boredom. There is no such thing as a boring environment, only an unattentive mind. A waiting room, a queue, a patch of dirt, all become fascinating worlds under the lens of microscopic attention. It enhances creativity. Great artists, writers, and scientists are masters of microscopic attention. They see the telling detail others miss, the way light catches a tear, the specific word that carries a universe of meaning, the anomalous data point that hints at a new theory. The utilitarian voice will protest. I have big problems to solve. Why should I stare at a leaf? This voice confuses scale with significance. It is often by understanding the smallest component that we solve the largest problem. The scientist studying the molecular structure of a virus is practicing microscopic attention. The therapist noticing a client's microexpression is practicing microscopic attention. The peace that comes from fully attending to a small, manageable detail can give you the clarity and calm to later address the large, overwhelming ones. Furthermore, time spent in microscopic attention is not lost, it is invested in recalibrating your nervous system from frantic scanning to peaceful depth. It is a reset for your soul. During a period of intense anxiety, I was trapped in my own head, cycling through catastrophic thoughts. The world was a threatening, blurry backdrop. One night, unable to sleep, I lay staring at the ceiling. In my distress, my gaze happened to catch on a tiny, hairline crack in the plaster. In a desperate attempt to escape my thoughts, I decided to follow the crack with my eyes. I traced its path. It wasn't just a line, it was a branching river delta, with tributaries and offshoots. Some parts were deeper, shadowed canyons. Others were faint, like dry riverbeds. I noticed where it intersected with a slight texture in the plaster, creating a crossroads. I saw a tiny fleck of paint poised to flake off at a junction. For maybe 20 minutes, my entire universe was that crack. My racing heart slowed. My breath deepened. The anxiety, which had felt like a tidal wave, receded to a distant rumble. I wasn't managing my anxiety, I had simply become more interested in the crack than in my fear. I fell asleep studying my private celestial map on the ceiling. The next morning, the anxiety wasn't gone, but my relationship to it had changed. I had learned I could, at will, drop out of the overwhelming story and into the sanctuary of a single, fascinating detail. The crack had been a lifeline back to the present, a microscopic anchor in a storm-tossed mind. The practice of microscopic attention hints at a spiritual truth sometimes called the holographic principle. The idea that the whole is contained in every part. When you give your full attention to one dewdrop, you are, in a sense, communing with the nature of water, light, and gravity. When you study the grain of wood, you are reading the story of a tree's life, the climate of its years, the turning of the planet. You are not just looking at a small thing. You are placing your awareness at a particular point of intersection in the infinite web of cause and effect. In that focused meeting, you touch the totality. You realize that to know this one thing deeply is to begin to know everything. So, let your curiosity grow small. Let it descend into the world of the ant, the texture of bread, the pattern of veins on a leaf. You will find that as your attention contracts, your sense of wonder expands exponentially. You will discover that you live not in a world of boring objects, but in a cathedral of infinite, intricate detail, every speck of which is worthy of a lifetime of awe. We often approach wisdom traditions, self-improvement, and even beginner's mind itself as if we are on a journey to a distant destination. We speak of the path, the work, progress. We envision a future version of ourselves, more peaceful, more present, more wise, and we strive to become that person. But what if this fundamental orientation is the final, most subtle obstacle? What if the peace we seek is not at the end of the path, but in the quality of our walking? What if, in the words of the ancient Zen masters, the way is not about becoming. The way is about being. This is the realization that the path itself is home. Beginner's mind, when fully embodied, ceases to be a technique we use to improve our life. It becomes the very way we inhabit our life. The practice and the living merge. We are no longer trying to achieve a state of presence, we are discovering that presence is the ground of our being, and we are simply learning to stop covering it over with our mental stories of past and future. In the mountains of Tibet, there was a fervent pilgrim named Tenzin. He had heard of a legendary hermit who lived in a cave at the roof of the world, a man said to possess the ultimate teaching that would bring instant enlightenment. For years, Tenzin endured harsh travel, saving his resources, studying maps, learning of the dangers. His entire identity became the pilgrim seeking the hermit. After a grueling final ascent, he arrived at the coordinates. But instead of a cave, he found a simple stone hut. Inside was not a wizened sage, but a cheerful, ordinary-looking man mending a wool sock. Disappointment washed over Tenzin. Surely this was not the master. Are you the hermit of the roof of the world? Tenzin asked, breathless. I live here, the man said, smiling. And I mend socks. Would you like some tea? Tenzin, frustrated, blurted out his quest. I have traveled for years to find the ultimate teaching. What is it? Please, tell me. The hermit poured tea. He was silent for a long time, looking at Tenzin's worn boots, his sunburned face, the desperate hope in his eyes. The ultimate teaching, the hermit said softly, is that you are already here. Tenzin waited for more. None came. That's it. What do I do with that? The hermit gestured to the world outside the hut door, the vast sky, the staggering peaks, the cold, clean air. You stop seeking a teaching out there, and you start receiving the teaching that is everywhere. You thought the path led to a special place. The path was to teach you how to see that every place is special. You are not a pilgrim. You are a man in a hut, drinking tea. The enlightenment is in tasting the tea, not in finding the hut. Tenzin's conceptual framework shattered. He had been so focused on the destination, the hermit, the teaching, that the entire journey had been a blur of endurance. He had missed the teaching of the cold wind on his face, the kindness of strangers who gave him shelter, the sound of his own breath in the thin air, the very experiences that were meant to wake him up. The path wasn't a means to an end, it was the end. The hermit's hut wasn't the destination. It was just another point on the infinite path where one could finally realize there is no destination, only endless, sacred traveling. Modern psychology distinguishes between instrumental and intrinsic motivation. Instrumental motivation is doing something for a separable outcome, practicing meditation to reduce stress. Intrinsic motivation is doing something for its own sake, meditating because the act itself feels like coming home. When we approach beginner's mind instrumentally, I will be present so I can be happier / more productive / more spiritual, we create a subtle division. There is a me here, practicing, to get a better result there. This very division is a form of not being present. It reinforces the ego's project of self-improvement. The shift to the path as home is a shift to intrinsic value. You don't empty your cup to get something. You empty your cup because the emptiness itself is peaceful. You see with fresh eyes not to have a better experience later, but because seeing freshly is the better experience, right now. The practice becomes its own reward. The path is walked for the beauty of the walking. This final practice is perhaps the most subtle of all, because it involves a profound letting go. It asks you to release the very identity that began this journey, the identity of the seeker. Begin with the already here check-in. Several times throughout your day, simply pause. Ask yourself this question, right now, in this moment, what is actually missing? Do not answer conceptually with words like peace, clarity, or a better job. Answer instead with your direct senses. Feel your body sitting or standing. Look around the room. Listen to the sounds present. Is there an actual, immediate lack, or is there just a familiar story playing in your mind about something being absent? You will almost always discover that in the raw sensory data of the present, you are fundamentally okay. You realize you are already home. The sense of something missing is merely a mental ghost. Next, reframe your practice as art, not exercise. Reconsider your meditation or mindfulness routine. Stop seeing it as a mental workout to achieve a future goal. Instead, view it as you would view creating a piece of art or listening to a beautiful piece of music. An intrinsically valuable act of expression or appreciation. You sit in stillness not to get good at meditation, but simply because sitting in quiet awareness is a beautiful and worthwhile way to spend 10 minutes of your one precious life. Then, learn to follow delight, not duty. Throughout your daily activities, start to notice those small, spontaneous moments of natural and effortless presence. Perhaps it happens when you're petting your dog, or when you become completely engrossed in a simple, hands-on task. These are moments when you are already home without any effort or trying. Instead of forcing a state of presence during tasks that feel like burdensome duties, gently follow these existing threads of natural delight. Linger in them. Allow them to teach you a vital lesson, that home isn't a special state you need to manufacture. It is a state you realize you have simply stopped leaving. Finally, establish the ritual of completion. At the end of any activity, whether it's a work project, a meaningful conversation, or a meal, consciously take 30 seconds. Feel the sense of completion in your body and mind. Do not immediately jump to the thought of, what's next? Allow there to be a full stop. In that intentional pause, there is no path forward and no path backward. There is just this. And this, right here, is home. This is the seeker's last defense. It confuses seeking with growth, and arrival with stagnation. When the path becomes home, growth doesn't stop, it becomes organic, like a tree growing from its own center rather than being stretched toward a distant light. You don't stop learning, you learn for the joy of learning, not to fill a perceived gap in yourself. Action doesn't cease, it arises naturally from the fullness of the present, not from the anxiety of a lacking future. The hermit mending his sock wasn't stagnant. He was fully engaged in the mending. Tenzin, in his frantic seeking, was the one who was stagnant, repeating the same mental pattern of, "not there yet," for years. True vitality is in the full participation in what is, not in the endless pursuit of what if. For years, I lived in a house with a small, neglected backyard. I saw it as a project. I had plans, a vegetable patch here, a flower bed there, a stone path. I spent my weekends working toward this future garden, often feeling stressed by the weeds and the scale of the work. The garden was a path to a destination. One Saturday, exhausted and frustrated, I simply sat down on the grass. I stopped working. I just looked. And I saw what had always been there, the way the afternoon sun lit up the translucent wings of a dragonfly. The complex, beautiful pattern of clover and moss in the weedy lawn. The gentle sway of a volunteer sunflower that had planted itself. The rich smell of damp earth. The garden as destination vanished. In its place was the garden as it was, a thriving, complex, beautiful ecosystem. I was already in the garden I had been seeking to create. The work became not a chore to build a future, but a playful participation in the ongoing life of this present space. The path, the labor, became my home, a loving relationship with my land. When the path becomes home, every moment becomes a fresh arrival. You wake up not to another day, but to a new opportunity to be where you are. You meet challenges not as obstacles on your path, but as the very terrain of your home, interesting features to be understood and engaged with. This is the completion of the beginner's mind cycle. You began by recognizing every moment is new. You practiced emptying, seeing, not knowing, and wondering. Now you realize you were never practicing toward anything. You were practicing being everything, the empty cup, the fresh eyes, the quiet wonder. You were coming home to your fundamental nature, which is awareness itself, the open, intelligent space in which the entire path unfolds. So walk on. But walk knowing you are already home. The next step isn't taking you somewhere else. It's just the next expression of the dance of being here. The hermit's tea, the pilgrim's weary boots, the sock being mended, the garden growing wild, it's all the same teaching. You are already here. The miracle is in the noticing. After exploring the landscape of beginner's mind, its empty cups and fresh eyes, its comfortable not knowing and childlike wonder, we arrive at a crucial juncture. These are not separate tools to be pulled from a toolbox one at a time. They are facets of a single gem, threads of a unified tapestry. Integration is the art of weaving these threads into the fabric of your daily being, so that beginner's mind is no longer a practice you do, but a quality you are. It is the movement from conscious application to natural embodiment. Think of learning to drive a car. At first, every action is separate and deliberate: check mirror, signal, clutch, shift, accelerate. The mind is full of the parts. With integration, these actions fuse into a fluid, unconscious competence. You simply drive. The skills haven't disappeared, they've become you. So it is with beginner's mind. The goal is to stop doing beginner's mind and start being a beginner, open, curious, and present, in all aspects of your life. In a prestigious European orchestra, a renowned conductor, Maestro Valeri, was known for his intense, technical precision. He would drill sections mercilessly on intonation, dynamics, and entrances. His rehearsals were masterclasses in control. The orchestra played perfectly, but critics often noted a cold, mechanical quality. Before a major performance of a profound, romantic symphony, Valeri fell ill. The concertmaster, a violinist named Anya, had to step in with only hours' notice. She was terrified. She didn't have Valeri's technical command or his imposing presence. As she raised her baton for the first rehearsal, she did something unprecedented. She simply stood there, in silence, for a full minute, looking at the musicians, not as instruments to command, but as human beings. Her cup was empty of pretension. Then she said, softly, "I don't know how to do this. But I love this music. Let's remember why we love it." She didn't give technical instructions. Instead, she asked questions born of wonder and curiosity. Cellos, in this passage, what is the cello saying? Is it a lament or a memory? Brass, when you enter here, does it feel like a sunrise or a declaration? She listened to the spaces between the phrases, asking for more breath there. She noticed microscopic details, a slight tremolo in the violins that sounded like heartbeats, and encouraged it. The orchestra, so used to being directed, began to listen to each other with fresh ears. They began to feel the music together. They weren't executing commands, they were having a collective conversation through sound. The performance that night was legendary. It wasn't just technically flawless, it was alive, breathing, heartbreakingly human. The critics raved about its unprecedented emotional depth. Afterwards, the musicians said they hadn't just played the symphony, they had lived it. Anya had integrated the techniques, the precision was still there, but she had woven them together with the spirit of beginner's mind, emptiness, I don't know how, curiosity, what is this saying? Wonder, let's remember why we love it, and attention to the space between. She hadn't conducted the music, she had midwifed it from the orchestra's collective soul. The brain learns in two primary ways. Explicit learning is conscious, effortful, and verbal, learning the rules of beginner's mind. Implicit learning is unconscious, effortless, and experiential, embodying the feel of presence. Through repeated practice, explicit knowledge becomes implicit. It moves from the prefrontal cortex, the conscious manager, to to the basal ganglia and cerebellum, the centers of automatic skill. Integration is the process of this transfer. You practice the explicit parts, the empty cup meditation, the fresh eyes exercise, so diligently that they eventually become implicit, your default way of meeting the world. Your nervous system rewires itself. Reactivity gives way to responsiveness. Judgment gives way to curiosity. This is neuroplasticity in action. You are literally building a beginner's mind neural pathway that becomes your brain's well-traveled road. True integration happens in the active flow of your daily life, not just in moments of quiet practice. Here is how to weave the threads of beginner's mind together in real time. First, use the triggers to teachers method. Begin by identifying your most common triggers, those specific situations that normally spark stress, sharp judgment, or anxiety. This could be receiving a critical email, being stuck in a traffic jam, or stepping into a difficult conversation. Designate these moments as your personal integration points. The next time you feel triggered, pause. Then, consciously and rapidly apply multiple facets of beginner's mind in succession. Start with empty cup, by noting, my initial reaction is filling my cup. Can I set it down? Then, shift to fresh eyes. What is actually happening here, in pure sensory detail, before my story about it takes over? Next, embrace not knowing. I don't know what this truly means or how it will end. Follow that with curiosity. What can I learn from this physical sensation or from this person's perspective? And finally, invite wonder. Isn't it fascinating, and deeply human, that we react this way? This multi-tool approach actively breaks the automatic trigger loop and builds a new, integrated neural pathway for response. Second, conduct the Beginner's Day experiment. Once a month, designate a full day where you consciously approach absolutely everything with an integrated beginner's mind. From your very first waking moment to your last thought at night, let your sole intention be to meet each task, each person, and each sensation with empty, fresh, curious wonder. Remind yourself, you are not merely doing tasks, you are exploring the living phenomenon of brushing teeth, the complex event of attending a meeting, the creative act of cooking dinner. Keep a light journal of what you discover. This intensive, day-long immersion dramatically accelerates the process of integration. Third, find your anchor point. With so many facets and practices, it can feel overwhelming. Find the one quality that arises most naturally and effortlessly for you. Perhaps it's innate curiosity, or maybe it's your love for small, intricate details. Use this as your personal anchor. Whenever you feel lost, reactive, or disconnected, simply return to this anchor point. Silently tell yourself, just be curious right now, or just notice one small detail. From this single, open, and stable stance, the other facets, like emptiness, fresh sight, and wonder, will often follow naturally and without force. Integration in relationships, work, and creativity. Relationships. An integrated beginner's mind means listening to your partner not to defend or fix, but with the empty, curious wonder of hearing their unique world for the first time, every time. It means seeing their familiar face with fresh eyes, noticing the new light in their eyes today. Work, it means approaching projects not as burdens, but as landscapes to explore. It's holding your expertise lightly, empty cup. While asking naive questions that might reveal new solutions, curiosity. It's finding wonder in the spreadsheet's patterns or the elegance of a well-written line of code. Creativity, this is where integration shines. The creative process is beginner's mind, starting with empty space, the blank page, tolerating not knowing what will emerge, following curiosity, seeing with fresh eyes, and delighting in the wonder of making something new. Blocked creativity is often just a full cup of how it should be. The ego mind, built on knowing and control, will resist integration. You will forget. You will fall back into automatic judgment and familiar stories. This is not failure, it is the grain of the wood you are sanding. Each moment you notice you've forgotten is the practice of integration. That noticing itself is a spark of beginner's mind. Gently, without self-judgment, return to your anchor. The path of integration is circular, not linear. You leave home, presence, and return, leave and return, each time knowing the way back a little better. A few years ago, I faced a perfect storm of personal stressors, a family health crisis, a work deadline, and a major home repair, all in the same week. My old pattern would have been to become a frantic, controlling manager of chaos, my cup overflowing with plans and panic. But I had been practicing. So, in the eye of the storm, I paused. I integrated. I emptied my cup of the catastrophic future stories. I used fresh eyes to see the situation as a set of sensory facts, the sound of hospital equipment, the weight of the phone in my hand, the cold of the contractor's estimate in my email. I embraced not knowing. I truly didn't know how any of it would resolve. I got curious. What does stress feel like in my body right now, exactly? What is the texture of this fear? And I found wonder, even here, the wonder of the human body's resilience, the wonder of technology allowing me to work from a hospital waiting room, the wonder of my own heart's capacity to care so deeply. I didn't become passive. I made calls, arranged care, met the deadline. But I did it all from a different place, not from a clenched fist of control, but from an open, responsive presence. The situations were still hard, but my suffering was dramatically less. I was no longer at war with reality. I was integrated with it, meeting each moment as it came, with the full toolkit of beginner's mind operating not as separate thoughts, but as my fundamental way of being in the storm. When integration deepens, something beautiful emerges, effortless presence. It's not that you're always trying to be present. It's that presence becomes the background of your life, and distraction or reactivity becomes the temporary foreground noise. You naturally empty your cup because you prefer the lightness. You naturally see freshly because the world is so interesting. You live comfortably with not knowing because certainty is boring. Curiosity and wonder become your native language. This is the fruit of the practice. You are no longer a seeker of beginner's mind. You have become a living expression of it. The separate threads have woven themselves into a single, strong cloth, the cloth of your awakened life. Every journey that truly transforms us ends not in arrival at a foreign land, but in a homecoming to a place we never truly left. We began this exploration of beginner's mind with the recognition of the ever-new moment. We ventured through the terrains of emptying, seeing, not knowing, wondering, and integrating. Now, we complete the circle. We return. Not to the person you were when you started listening, but to the ground of being that was always here, patiently waiting beneath your busyness, your knowing, and your striving. This is the returning, the gentle, final understanding that you have always been at the beginning, and the beginning is always here. In the elegant symmetry of a circle, the end point touches the start. The final teaching of beginner's mind is the first teaching, but heard with new ears, you are already home. Your true nature is this open, aware presence. All the practices were not about acquiring something new, but about removing the layers of forgetfulness that prevented you from realizing what you already are and have always been. A persistent cloud, high above the Himalayas, watched a river for centuries. The river was always moving, always changing, always rushing toward some distant sea. The cloud saw the river as the very essence of journeying. You are so purposeful, the cloud whispered down. You have a destination. I just drift. One fierce summer, the sun drew the river up, vaporizing it into mist. The mist rose and joined the cloud. For a time, the river's essence was part of the cloud, floating, expansive, seeing the world from a great height. It was still, yet full of potential. Then, the seasons turned. The cloud cooled, condensed, and began to fall as rain. The drops landed high in the same mountain range, gathered in a rocky basin, and began to flow. The river was flowing again, in a new channel, but it was still water. A wise old stone, who had witnessed this cycle for millennia, spoke to the newborn river. You seem different, the river bubbled. I went on a great journey. I was a cloud. I saw everything. The stone was silent for a long time. Little river, it said finally. You have always been water. The journey did not change what you are. It only changed what you thought you were. As a river, you thought you were movement. As a cloud, you thought you were stillness. But you were only ever water, taking different shapes. The returning to the riverbed is not an end. It is water remembering it can flow. You never left home. You only forgot you were the ocean in disguise. The river's long journey to the sea, its evaporation into cloud, its fall as rain. This was not a linear path to a finish line. It was a circular dance of water remembering and forgetting its true nature through endless forms. The returning to the riverbed was just another turn in the eternal cycle of being. Your journey with beginner's mind mirrors this. You began as the river, identified with the constant flow of your thoughts, feelings, and roles, rushing toward goals. The practices invited you to evaporate. To rise above the stream of thought into the spacious awareness of the cloud, still, open, perceiving. In that space, you tasted your true nature as conscious presence, not as your story. Now, you rain back down into your life, into your roles, your relationships, your daily tasks. But you return changed. You are still the water of awareness, but you now know you are not only the river of your personal drama. You are the consciousness in which the drama unfolds. You return to the flow of life not as a captive of the current, but as water that knows itself. You engage, but from a place of grounded presence. This is the returning, bringing the knowing of the cloud into the flowing of the river. The returning is not a passive or quiet state. It is an active embodiment. It is how you choose to live once you truly know, in your bones, that you are already home. First, you embrace the sacred ordinary. Your entire daily life becomes your primary practice ground. Washing dishes is no longer a chore to finish quickly, it transforms into a meditation on warmth, the slip of soap, and the simple miracle of clean water. Filing paperwork ceases to be mere bureaucracy, it becomes a focused exercise in creating order and applying attention. Even traffic is no longer seen as an obstacle, it becomes a fascinating study in collective movement, rhythm, and patience. You learn to perform every action with the quality of the cloud spacious, witnessing awareness, even as your physical body moves within the river's constant flow. Second, you transform responsibility into responsibility. You return to your duties and obligations not with a sense of burden, but with responsibility, the genuine ability to respond freshly from a place of clear awareness, rather than reacting from old habit. A challenging moment with your child becomes an opportunity to meet them with beginner's mind. A conflict at work becomes a chance to listen with empty, genuine curiosity. You act not from a stressed ego desperately trying to control an outcome, but from a clear, calm presence that is simply seeking understanding. Third, you discover gratitude as the breath of return. A deep and natural gratitude blossoms effortlessly when you live from this place of returning. You find yourself grateful not just for peak experiences or grand achievements, but for the fundamental, simple fact of being conscious and aware. You feel gratitude for the feel of air filling your lungs, for the innate capacity to taste, to see, and to love. This gratitude isn't a separate practice you need to add to your day, it is the natural perfume that arises when you fully realize you are already home within this miraculous existence. And fourth, you express service as the flow of awareness. Your compassion for others deepens organically. When you see people lost in the turbulent torrent of their own personal stories, you naturally feel a wish to offer them a reflection of the cloud stillness. This isn't about preaching beginner's mind or teaching techniques, it's about embodying a calm, receptive, and listening presence. True service, in this understanding, becomes the act of sharing the peace of your own returning simply by being a peaceful, open, and hospitable space for others. The world may expect you to return to normal after any spiritual or reflective journey. But the returning we speak of is not a return to the old, unconscious normal. It is a new normal, a normal infused with awareness. You will still have bad days, feel anger, get caught in stories. The difference is the context. Before, you were the storm-tossed river. Now, you are the water that knows storms are temporary weather patterns on its surface. You recover your balance faster. You suffer less because you are less identified with the passing weather of your experience. Years after beginning this path, I had what seemed like a mundane moment of integration. I was at the kitchen sink, washing the same dishes I wash every day. The evening light was golden. My hands were in warm, soapy water. A feeling arose, not a thought, but a somatic, felt sense. It was a deep, quiet recognition, I am here. Not, I am here doing dishes. Not, I am here thinking about yesterday or planning tomorrow. Just, I am here. The awareness that knows the feeling of warm water, that sees the golden light, that hears the clink of plates. That awareness was unmistakably me, and it was utterly at home. It wasn't seeking anything. It wasn't waiting for the dishes to be done. It was completely fulfilled in the simple experiencing. In that moment, the river and the cloud were one. The doing, the river's flow, and the being, the cloud's spaciousness, were not separate. I had returned to the most ordinary of places, my own kitchen, and found the extraordinary secret: home is where your awareness is, and your awareness is always where you are. The entire journey had been to bring me back to this sink, to this breath, to this unshakable here and now, and to finally recognize it for the sanctuary it has always been. So, we end where we began. With this breath. With this sound. With this sensation. Beginner's mind is not a philosophy to believe. It is a reality to recognize. It is the truth that you are, right now, at the beginning of your life. The past is a memory. The future is an imagination. The only thing that is ever real is this present moment, and it is always new, always offering itself to you fresh. You don't need to hold on to any of the stories or concepts from these hours. Let them go, like the river releasing a leaf. What remains is what was always there, your capacity to be open, to be curious, to be wonderstruck by the sheer fact of existence. This is your practice from now on, to return, again and again, to this beginner's ground. When you get lost in the river's rush, in worry, in planning, in judgment, remember the cloud. Evaporate for just a breath into spacious awareness. Then, rain gently back down into your life, carrying that spaciousness with you. You are the water. You are the journey and the homecoming. You are the eternal beginner, forever at the start of the great adventure of now. Thank you for sharing this returning journey here at Monk's Temple. May you carry this simple knowing into your dreams and your waking life. May you always remember that you are already home, and that home is always beginning. Rest now, deeply and completely, in the peace of the returning.